Okay, we are in what's it called? Orchot Tzaddikim. Orchot Tzaddikim, and we are. Please subscribe to the channel. Give it a thumbs up. Hit the notifications. We're on page 41. We're ending off. God willing, we'll end off the Hagdamate, the introduction, and he starts with this book is called the Book of Traits. He called it really Orchot Tzaddikim, which is paths of the righteous. But he decided this book is called the Book of Traits. So it's interesting that he translated it that way. It was written and sealed with the signet of wisdom to teach man knowledge, to be in the hand of each man as a tool with which he can correct his traits and his deeds. And the bottom note, by the way, is again an interesting note. I'm not going to go through it, but he talks about how libraries are filled with how-to books and millions of dollars are spent on these books. Here I'm giving you, and he's saying here you have a book on how to develop your relationship with God. So this is probably one of the more important books you should have in your arsenal and also to keep.
Who translates a book of traits? I mean, that's the author writing. What is it?
The author says Sefer Nikra, Sefer Midot, which is literally book of traits. That's what he says. So it's interesting that he is in the end called Orchot Tzaddikim.
Yeah, okay.
But
so
again, passing.
Who named it? Did he?
I'm assuming he did.
Or did somebody else name it that?
I'm guessing he did. Again, there's no guarantee for these things because we don't know who wrote it.
Yeah.
It's the unidentified author here. So, okay. So he says a craftsman who possesses the tools of his trade, but can do his work, but lacking them, he can do nothing. Imagine here you're going to become a HVAC guy, but you don't have the right tools. You'll just know theoretically what to do. It's not going to help much. Okay, when you actually come down to it, or a surgeon. If a surgeon, again, a person who's trained as in the field of medicine, but never underwent what we call what's it called?
On the job training. Right?
Oh yeah, but it's called. I'm saying for what's it called when they do it? The medicine, their apprenticeship, resident. When they're resident, thank you. When they're a resident, you want them to actually know what they're doing before they take a knife to you. So, you don't want to be the first one they're handling, but you also want somebody to watch over them while they're doing it. Okay. So therefore, here, my son Musar, and take the tool of your trade in your hand to correct your traits. Is it not evident that one who possesses many coins, small and large, but does not know their value and worth, will not know what to buy with each until he learns the value of each coin? Imagine when you give your kids, when you first gave your kids money, right? The quarter, the nickel, the dime, and so on and so forth, even the dollar. So what happens is they go to the store and the person says $1.50. They just throw the money on the counter. They don't know what they're throwing out. Here's money, but it's not what you need. It's too much, it's too little. Well, what does it matter? It's just coinage, right? So we have to teach the kid what is worth a dime, what's a penny, and why a dime is smaller than a penny.
I can tell you a story about that.
Go ahead.
So they had penny candy when I was little. They don't have no such thing anymore.
No.
So
penny candy is now 5 cents. Go ahead.
At least. So I go shopping. I'm talking about under 5 years old.
Right,
shopping with my mother. You have to write this down. So I'd watch her. She'd buy a cart full of groceries, and she'd hand over the cash. Everybody shop with cash then, and get some change back. Oh, that's really neat. So it's neat. You get groceries and you get money back. This is good. So I got my gift for doing something on that. She gave me a penny to go down and buy some penny candy, right? So otherwise she said, give this to the guy behind the counter. So I picked out the penny from the candy from the jar, give him the penny, and I'm standing there holding my hand out. Finally says, Mark, there's no change for that.
Hey, you tried.
Yeah.
Seemed like a good deal.
It was a good deal.
Like the kids that think 5 pennies is worth more than 1 quarter because there's 5 pennies,
correct.
but only 1
Correct.
quarter. They don't get it.
So that's what he's saying. You have to, if you don't learn that, then it's no good. So he says, and he must know which coin the king has invalidated, forbidding it to be used as legal tender. Okay, so if you ever went to Israel, they had the shekel, and then they got the new shekel. So the old shekel was no longer worth anything. The old shekel that was worthless. So you had to know that. Otherwise, again, you're going to use the wrong currency. Or if you, in the old days, we had the silver certificate. It was a dollar bill. It said silver here. In the United States of America, we had what's called a silver certificate. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that. You must have seen it, right? Yeah, okay. My brother's a coin collector, so he actually got a couple of those silver certificates. Yeah. And that was the value of that. It's an IOU. You can go to the government, and they have to give you $1 worth of silver, pure silver. That's what that silver certificate was for. Okay, that would be the exchange value. But today, today our dollar is it's only worth what the paper says. It's only based upon the trust in the government. There's nothing else. There's nothing behind that piece of paper. But the old days it was silver or the gold standard and so on and so that. So that again, you'd have to know what you're buying, and if once it's no good, it's no good. So only after he has weighed and evaluated each coin will he know how to derive the proper value for each. And again, that's when they was dealing with the actual value of what the coin was. In other words, what was the weight. And as to the coin for which the king has decreed a fine against anyone who issues it, he will be careful to use it only in a manner that will not make him liable to any penalty. The end result will be that this man will derive good and joy from each of his coins. But the fool, who neither weighs nor evaluates and uses what the king has invalidated, there is no question that he will suffer a great loss. And you, my son, take this analogy that compares to your many traits, great and small, and weigh each trait on the scales of your wisdom until you know the value of each. Know which traits the great king, God, has invalidated, and be careful that those traits will not be seen in you or found in your heart, except in such instances that will not cause you your loss or penalty. So again, he's not saying throw them out. He's not saying conquer them totally. He's saying use them to the positive. Okay? And again, the first gate he's going to deal with is arrogance. So he's really going to start at the beginning here. By doing so, you will attain perfection, and you will be the worker with the tools of your trade in your hand. We would now like to inform you of the roots of traits and their branches, their benefits and their dangers. And our intent is to turn man's nature from foolishness to the love of Musar, to the love of ethical teachings, and that the simple ones will strive to know wisdom. And from Hashem of exalted name, we ask assistance, that he make known to us the upright ways and the paths of the righteousness, so that we may teach the tribes of Yeshua and the Jewish people the assembly of kindness to walk in them. So that's his introduction. And now we go to the book. Yeah. The passive righteous. Right. So, and now we start again, even for the gate of haughtiness, gate of Gava. So he gives introduction to that even. So he says he likes introductions. In the first gate, we shall discuss the trait of haughtiness. It is fitting that it precede all of the other gates, because man has an obligation to separate himself from it, for it is an opening to many evils. And we have not seen anything as evil as it among all the other traits. Therefore, a man must be wise and use it with discretion, and he must reject it completely whenever it is not fitting. Okay, so let's start. He says, haughtiness is the coin which the great, blessed king has invalidated. Yeah, going back to what he said in the introduction. So he's assuming, by the way, you can see this from the beginning, he's assuming you read the introduction and didn't skip that. Otherwise, you're lost right here, because you're saying, what are you talking about? What coin? Okay, so he has made that assumption. And most people would want to read the introduction because you want to know where he's going. So, although today I don't think anybody reads introductions. Sorry? Right, but that's the problem for many people, because they don't get it. They don't know what he's talking about.
The introduction is kind of like an overview. It's going to give you a little idea of what's coming.
Right, that's why any book that has an introduction, you should read. There's
if you want to skip the credits,
skip the I want to thank my wife and I want to thank my teacher, blah, blah, blah. That you can skip. Who cares? But when it comes to the actual... Sorry?
I said I read a lot of times in just regular novels. I'll read the couple pages of things, and I'm like, okay, now I'll see how they get there.
Wow.
I'd like to
Okay.
know what-
You got the answer. No patience for that one. Okay. But here you want to understand in any of these books. By the way, also when it comes to translations, when, for instance, you have translations of the Bible, you want to see the introduction to see why they're translating it, where they're coming from, and that will determine whether or not you want to read the book. Because you may say, this is garbage, I'm not going to buy it. It's $30. I can say, I'll invest $30 in the Midwest Torah Center. Okay. No change. We keep your money. We spend it and give to whoever we want. Okay. So, again, it's a coin which the great blessed king has invalidated, and which he warned us in his Torah about, as is written, take heed, lest you forget Hashem your God. For the haughty man forgets his creator, as is written, and when your cattle and flocks multiplied, and gold and silver increase to you, then your heart will grow haughty, and you will forget Hashem your God, and you will say in your heart, my power and the might of my hand have made this wealth for me. Okay, that's the famous thing that everybody wants to pick on. When we're in bad shape, we always know how to cry out to God. That's the easiest time, because then we just say, oh, woe is me, God, help me out. So we suddenly remember God. When things are going well, we say, I did it. I did it. It's all me. If it wasn't for me doing blank, then this wouldn't have happened. Okay? That's haughtiness. That's what they're picking on right now. You can't have that attitude. For good and for bad, we have to thank God. That's why, I always pick on the boxers. When the boxer wins, what's the first thing he says? I had to thank the Lord for letting me win. He doesn't say it was his fist. He doesn't say my trainer. That's not the first thing he picks on. He always says, I want to thank God. I always like boxing for that, because they would always be religious after being smashed in the face. That's important. The loser, they never asked. But the winner, they always asked. Yeah. So he says, so my power, then you should remember that Hashem your God, for it is he who gives you the strength to amass the wealth. And that's, again, he gives a note here that, well, you can run through it because it's an important note. So he says, a person who is haughty transgresses the prohibition of this verse and is considered an idol worshiper, since it is as if he has denied the existence of God. The reason for this is because man was created to recognize the greatness of Hashem and to serve him, as a servant serves his master. A haughty person harbors feelings that show that he is not subservient to anyone, even Hashem. And Ramban Nachmanides says that since we are a nation of capable and talented people, it is natural that we attribute success to our own efforts and actions. We need to be careful, therefore, not to fall into that trap. Okay, so again, something good, something bad, whatever the case is going to be. It's always easy, but like I said, when it's bad, but when it's good, it's sometimes hard to remember that I have to thank God here too. Okay, but that's just being haughty if you don't. And in relation to a king, it is written that his heart not be lifted above his brothers. If the Torah cautions even a king in this respect, it goes without saying that the average man should not show one-upmanship one to another. So if I see you doing well, or you see me doing well, it should be done with humility. In other words, I shouldn't try to one-up you. You got, I don't know, you got a truck, I'm going to get a newer truck. That sort of thing. Or you're going for your HVAC, well, I'm going to go for HVAC and that small engine repair so I can really pull the bucket in like that. But that's one-upping the guy. You're not doing it l'shem shamayim. Now you're just doing it, you're not trying to get closer to God. You're just doing it to be better than you. So, but you have, we're going to cover this many times, so but it's important to keep saying, God gives us everything, including the positions we hold, even if it's a position of garbage man. Okay? That is a position that we hold, and we should be proud of that position, because that is what God decided that we should do, for whatever reasons. Okay? So everything, if you get appointed to be over the cafe, and for those who like, always remember cafeteria women from the schools. So, the lunch ladies, there you go, lunch ladies. There's a boss of the lunch ladies. Now, again, that's not a heilige job, that's not a tremendous job, but whoever it is, she was appointed by God. That's how we look at it. That's the important thing to remember, okay? So that's why it's not a one-upmanship. That's an arrogance to think I can be better than you because God put us in this situation. So I should be happy for you. The point is I should be happy. Okay. So haughtiness takes two forms. The first is a haughtiness of a man has in his body. The second is a haughtiness a man has in his actions, in the quality of wisdom, and in the quality of his wisdom and his good deeds. The haughtiness a man has in his body takes two forms, one good, one bad. The following is a bad form. When haughtiness grows in a man's heart, it rules over him from head to toe, in his head and his throat, as is written, behold, the daughters of Zion were haughty and walked with outstretched necks. He brings down his, in the notes, again, I leave you to the notes, but he brings down, there's a concept that here I am, a woman is walking on the street and somebody says, and people looking after her, and she realizes, and she wants to walk bigger than life, okay? And that's improper because it's supposed to be humble about this. So I shouldn't be worrying about what other people, I'm not saying I should walk around in a slumpish manner. How do you say? Messy. Yeah, not a messy manner, but again, I shouldn't be walking such erect that people are going to notice me more than before, okay? Which is why when you see all these people who are the hero costumes, they always make, if you would see somebody in a hero costume, you would look. Okay, may it be Superman, they're all dressed that people should look and see what they're dressed. What are you doing here? Nobody's dressing like Mildman and Clark Kent, and anybody's looking at him. They're not just looking, they're looking at Superman or Superwoman or whatever, Supergirl, excuse me. They didn't have Superwoman, do they?
Yeah.
There's only Supergirl, right? Or what's the other one? Gil Gadot, what's Wonder Woman. There you go. Sure. In his hands and his feet, as is written, again with that, it's written, let the foot of the haughtiness not come upon him, and the hand of the wicked not move me. Because the foot of the haughtiness, Rabbi Hananiah ben Teradon was punished, it being decreed upon her that she dwell in the house of ill repute. For once, he explains, for once passing before some Roman dignitaries, and hearing them say, how beautiful are the strides of this young woman, she was even more gracious with her walk. She paid attention. And he says, and so they ask a question, how could she have done this when dignity and nobility of a Jewish woman is to shun publicity and seek privacy? As David HaMelech writes, Kol kavud bat melech panima. The complete glory of the princess is within. So here she is somebody speaking out and saying how beautiful she is. So she walks in a more gracious manner. It is manifest in one's eyes, as is written, haughty eyes. It is manifest in one's ears by not listening to the words of the poor, unfortunate ones, right? When people come to you and ask you for money, what's our normal response? Normal response is, even if they're talking to you, and you already made a decision. You're not really listening. You're not really interested in listening to what they have to say. You have too much importance to this stuff to do, right? So we basically, if we stick our hand in our pocket and we throw them 25 cents or whatever you're going to give, so you think you're a big shot, okay? But really, what Hashem is doing is putting you in front of this person, or this person is being put in front of you, and you're supposed to pay attention. Whether or not you're going to give money, I'm not going to argue, but to at least listen and show respect for the person. What we call kavod habriot. It's honor of creation. That itself, even if you just say, man, I'm sorry, I don't have anything, but God should bless you. Something like that. I wish I had. It makes them feel better. At least somebody listened to them. That's all we're shooting at. Again, if you have money, that's up to you. But but otherwise, we're supposed to listen. And you're supposed to, it's my father, may he rest in peace. He would always say to the person when they would come to him, come, I'll bring you to the donut shop and I'll buy you a cup of coffee and a donut. They were like, no, man, no, I need some money. He said, no money. You come, I'll give you to eat. He wasn't interested in drinking. But he would always listen to him. He would listen. He was a good guy that way. Without knowing what he was supposed to do. That was my father. He would just do it. Okay, so that's, and then he says, it is manifest in one's nose if, when standing near the poor or upon entering the houses, they smell offensive to him. And even, again, we all know that, they didn't take a shower, whatever the case is going to be. And even, it is even in his speech, he speaks haughtiness, with abundant arrogance against the righteous. Haughtiness can be manifest in eating and in drinking and in clothing one ostentatiously in Gentile apparel. We have been warned against this in the Torah of Moshe, as is written, do not walk in the ways of nations. Again, if there's a special clothing that the non-Jewish nations are wearing, that's what we're not, that's what we as Jews are not allowed to wear. We don't, but today, I don't know if there would be such a thing today.
I would think ostentatiously, something flamboyant to catch attention to yourself.
Right.
That kind of thing.
I mean, maybe what the underwear up. Maybe that would be.
What were you talking about? The baggy shorts.
Right. Maybe I don't even know if that is, but certainly not jeans today. Not. Look at us. We're all dressing, the same. There's no real uniform. Except if you're going to gang life, maybe, that they have uniforms. Maybe that would be the extent of gang life.
Oh,
where they hang out with their gangs. They all, I don't even know. I mean, only see gangs on TV. So if I base myself on TV, so that
like the Crips or the Bloods, I think you'll be fine. Those are gang members.
Okay, thank you. I have no idea what they. Okay, good.
It changes quickly. Like different colored hats for different.
Okay.
Blue and red.
The combs in the hair.
But you were talking about them shorts. They make them now where they're made like that.
Yeah. No, yes.
That's terrible.
Yes.
It's fake. It's fake underwear.
Right.
It's made right into your pants.
Yes.
All one.
Yes.
So it looks like your hands.
Yes. I said that. I was at Walmart when I saw that.
You're the one that told me.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You can wear it and look stupid, and you're really covering yourself up.
But you're paying for that.
Nobody else knows that.
And you're paying for that too.
Yeah.
Okay. But nonetheless, like I said,
The faded blue jean craze years ago.
With the holes in them.
yeah. Okay. But like I said, with all this, I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if anything today. I'm not sure if anything today would fit this category. That's my point. I'm not sure because everybody wears the same sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's. But in those days, they had specific uniforms, or there would be a way to dress. So we weren't allowed to dress like that. If there's a specific thing, I don't think there is anything like that here. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But right, and it also says do not walk in their ways, and it says take heed lest you be ensnared after them. Now the reason, by the way, just to understand what's going on here, the reason we're not supposed to dress, walk, talk like the non-Jews is because we have a prohibition of intermarriage. Torah says we have to marry Jews. Okay, so if that's the case, if I'm dressing like everybody else, I'm going to mix in with everybody else. And there's this very simple rule that I've said many years ago: love knows no religion. Okay, if I'm with you, if I'm eating with you, I'm dressing like you, so the odds are I'm going to marry you. And then I would be transgressing a biblical injunction. So in order to avoid transgressing a biblical injunction of not marrying out of the people, so therefore the rabbis would make these separations. That's all. And basing themselves upon Torah verses to not walk in the ways and so on and so forth. Okay, but that's
you could almost say today those who wear the black suit and black hat all the time are separating themselves like that.
Yes, or Hasidim.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they are definitely separating themselves. We'll leave it there. They definitely separate themselves. Okay, so the point is the same in all these instances. The Jewish people are warned to stay separate from the nations in his apparel, his speech, and all of his customs, as is written, "For I have set you apart from the nations." We have a special role in the world. We can't assimilate. Again, all these things are a stopgap against assimilation. So the haughty are despicable in the eyes of Hashem, as is written, the abomination of Hashem are all who are haughty of heart. And that's from Mishlei. And the haughty man is given into the hands of his evil inclination. Once again, the Yetzer Hara gets involved because if I'm being haughty, so what's it going to lead? It's going to lead for me thinking I'm in charge. That's the evil inclination. He does not receive divine assistance since he is the abomination of Hashem. And even if he does not elevate himself above any man in speech or deed, but only in his heart, he is still called in the abomination. As is written, the abomination of Hashem are all who are haughty of heart. Even if his haughtiness exists in his heart alone, he is called an abomination. Our rabbis taught everyone who is haughty of spirit is as one who serves idols. It is as is written in one place, the abomination of Hashem are all who are haughty of heart. And another, do not bring an abomination into your house. These are, there are others who say, if he has had relations with those who are forbidden to him, as is written, for all of these abominations, they did. So again, he's really pushing, the author is really pushing that haughtiness is the beginning of all evils for us. It's stage one, okay, if you will. That's what opens up the door for everything, for all our ills. Right. That's why he's speaking on it first. And he says in the gray box, I like his gray boxes. So he says, with this trait, perhaps more than others, only the person himself knows his true intentions. And although his actions convey one message, his real feelings may be entirely different. When an audience rises out of respect for someone who has walked into the room, and that person waves his hand with a downward motion as if to say, please don't rise for me, only that person knows whether in his heart he is really waving his hand in an upward motion as if to say, please rise for me. Right? It is for this reason that Shlomo Melech, King Solomon, refers to such a person as Geva Lev, haughty of heart. His actions mean very little. Only the emotions of his heart tell the truth of his character. So again, you walk into the audience, the person, rabbi walks into the room. According to halacha, he's supposed to stand up. So everybody stands up, and the rabbi says, "No, please, you don't stand up for me." And meanwhile, he's feeling Baruch Hashem. They're sitting for me. Okay, Baruch Hashem. What? You're sitting down? Get up, you bum. Okay.
No, because by that action alone, he's noticing that he's in it.
Right.
I see you standing up.
Right. But when you see a guy go like this, what did you pass? What happened? You moved. You want to stand up full. That's what I want. Okay. Yeah, but you have to say, no, I want to be humble about this. I'm supposed to be humble. But that's what you're saying. It's what do you really believe? Do you really want them to stand up? Okay, now you're haughty. Because if you didn't want them to stand up, when would you show up? Before. I'll be there before. Right? If I really don't want you to stand up, then I'll be there before. I don't come in when everybody's here, so of course you have to stand up. Because only proper. He's here, yay, let's stand up. No, it's not proper, yay, clap. No, it's not proper. If I really don't want it. On the other hand, if I just happened to walk into a room and I didn't know it was in, everybody stands up. Okay, so I didn't know you were there. But I also shouldn't say sit down. You know why? It's a lack of respect to the Torah. So it's a double-edged sword here. I'm not supposed to say sit down because you're supposed to stand until I get to my place. When I get to my place, then you're supposed to sit. You know what that's like? Walk into a court, and the judge comes in. All rise, boom, and you have to wait till the judge. You can't just go like this. Okay, you have to get up, and then when the judge finally gets to that seat and sits down, that's when they announce you may be seated. I was once told that the courtroom is the last place for courtesy, proper courtesy. Oh no, not courtesy. They didn't use courtesy. Decorum. Thank you. Decorum. The last place in the world for decorum is the court room. But that's really what you're talking about. When somebody walks in, you stand up. When your parents, halacha, again, according to Jewish law, when your parent walks in the room, the kid is supposed to stand up. Now, most parents don't really enforce that of their children. I think that I don't. Do you do it? No. Okay. I want to make sure. But we're going to start right now. Get up! The rabbi said, "Get up." Okay. But really, the child should get up, stand up, totally get up. Okay, because respect. But again, a lot of stuff has gone by the wayside. But I used to say to my kids, "Get up!" Walked in the room. I want to train them to get up. They don't do it now either, but didn't really work. But that's more of a training than a haughtiness. But you want to get them. But really, that's what he's saying here. Okay, that's you have to look at what's in the heart, and only you can know that. Nobody's going to argue on you, but you have to know why you're doing it. Okay. So then it says, yeah. So it says it is as if he actually lives. Right. Okay. And next page, 53. That's where we are. And there are those who say it is as if he erected a provisional altar. There they say further, all who are haughty of spirit in the end are diminished. As is written, they are exalted briefly. So you thought you forced everybody to get up and so on and so forth. You were on the top of the world. Then something happens, you're brought down really quickly. So it's going to be a very short-lived thing. Look at all the actors and actresses that I don't even know who they are anymore. But okay, you just had the Academy Awards, but Grammy something was on TV, Oscars. If I would watch the Oscars, I wouldn't know who they're talking about because I don't go to movies. So I have no idea of who's up and how much they clamor about themselves and think that they're so great. Okay, I only know the old timers, but I forget his name already.
Cary Grant.
That's not my time. He was way after me. But no, I was thinking of Jack Nicholson. That's what the guy. Jack Nicholson. Okay. But those guys remember. These new people, I have no idea who they are. Is that it? Well, I know who Cary Grant was.
Jimmy Stewart.
I also know who he was, right? Okay, so but that's the point. They it's interesting. You pick on Jimmy. Jimmy Stewart, they say, was a very humble guy, and that's why he lasted so long. Mm-hmm. And people know it. Well, they know him because of the Christmas Story, but whatever they call that, it wasn't.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Wonderful Life, right? But that's what he's most famous for. But they say he was a very humble guy in real life. So I don't know. Yeah. So they're exalted briefly, and I'm sorry. That's. They further said, all who are haughty of spirit in the end are diminished, as is written, they are exalted briefly. And he deserves to be uprooted as an Asherah, which is a tree devoted to idol worship, as is written in one place, and the haughty of stature shall be uprooted. And another, and their Asherot shall you uproot. And his dust will not awaken. So, in other words, he won't rise from the dead in the resurrection. For the resurrection of the dead, and the Shekhinah cries from him. The divine presence of God cries from him. And the Holy One, blessed be he, says, I and he cannot live together in this world. Now, can you imagine God saying that to anybody? This world isn't big enough for the both of us. If you're haughty, you're through. Again, we're trying to kill this concept of gaiva, of haughtiness. That's what we're really trying to destroy right now. He's going to come back and say we need it for certain things, which I think is funny. But but right now he's telling you it's one of the worst traits you could have. You'll need it for something, but just in general, wipe it out. It's because God and you can't live in the same world. And why is that? Because you basically threw God out of the equation. Because you're saying that I am God or equal, or I'm better than God in certain things. Okay. So he said, as is written, the haughty of the eye and the broad of heart, him I cannot bear. Do not read it as him, but as with him I cannot dwell. And they said that an arrogant man is not even accepted in his own household, as is written, the arrogant man shall not dwell even in his own house. Because who can take an arrogant person? I mean, you just have no friends after a while. Haughtiness leads to a pursuit of honor for the purpose of ruling over other people. And that's why people become class presidents or other things like that. Remember when they had in high school, right? So they had the runoffs. So these people, it was normally really a popularity contest, but you were trying to, what was the bottom line? You wanted to rule over the people. You wanted to rule over your subjects, and that's why he's saying that's your haughtiness. Because
that's the joke about the shul president. Do it for the honor.
Right, that's right. So he says here, the pursuit of honor. How far will man go for the sake of honor? The Torah sheds light on this question by adding a seemingly unimportant piece of information. He says, when Hashem instructed Moshe to go to Pharaoh on behalf of the Jewish people, Moshe was told to meet Pharaoh at the Nile River. Why does the Torah relate this minor detail? Rashi cites the Midrash that since Pharaoh had proclaimed himself to be a god who had no need to perform normal bodily functions, he would go to the river every morning to relieve himself unobtrusively. Now consider for a moment what Rashi is saying. Pharaoh was the most powerful man in the mightiest nation of the world. No one received more honor than he. Still, he needed more, and in spite of all the inconvenience, discomfort, and physical pain, his arrogance drove him to obsession in seeking more honor. Think about that. He's going to the bathroom only once a day.
He'd have to hold himself.
He had to go to the Nile. That's why he goes to the Nile River. Okay, he goes to the Nile River. The Nile was also a god. It was considered a god. So the papers would have read that Pharaoh was having a convention with the gods every morning. Okay, he's talking to the Nile god, so it's good. He went in. He did his business. Okay, and that's why Moses told you have to go to Pharaoh when he's at the Nile. When he's going to the bathroom, best time to talk to him. Okay, so and have a nice discussion with him. Tell him God knows what's going on here. Okay, but here again, if you can do it one time, just go to the bathroom one time and get everything done, God, you're a good guy. You're really, that's strong. I don't know how many times do we all go to the bathroom, even if it is indoor plumbing. Okay, it's more convenient than it's only outdoor. But in the when people had outhouses, what would they do? They had chamber pots. People go to the bathroom more than once. But that's his point. If he only went to the bathroom once, and you have to really torture your system to do that. Mm-hmm. But he wanted that much honor that he had to do that.
He didn't want to be seen any time at all other than that.
Right, that's it.
To do.
That's all he could do. So it's amazing. But that's what it is. That's the pursuit of honor that you have. And only to rule over other people. Okay, so he says, you are well aware of what happened to Korach and his congregation as a result of his hardiness. What happened with Korach? He was killed. Right? Korach, you know the story? Korach, it was a cousin of Moses. And Korach decided he's going to have an argument with Moses because instead of Moses running this show, Korach thought he should be running the show. So what he did was he made a rebellion against Moses, and so he had 250 people altogether that went with him, and everybody dies. Those 250 people die. So, but that was all haughtiness. He thought he should be the one ruling over the people and not Moses. So that's what we're getting into here. And yeah, he doesn't say it down here, but that's the story though. Yeah. He desired to aggrandize himself and to take greatness which had not been given to him by heaven. Because of this, he entered into a dispute which resulted in envy and hatred. And all of these low traits all of these are low traits, as will be explained with the help of Hashem. In sum, if one adorns his body in order to flaunt himself, he forgets Hashem. Blessed be He. He pays no heed to the mitzvot, and he does not pursue good deeds, for his entire concentration is on himself, to adorn his transitory body, whose end is to be with worms and maggots. Always a good way to think about it. If you really want, it says in Pirkei Avot, if you want to kill your haughtiness, just remember that you were created from a putrid drop, and you're going to be eaten by worms in the end. Mm-hmm. So with everything we do, with all the food we eat, with all the delicacies we put in our body, with all that we work out, going back to this being a discussion, it doesn't really matter. We're all going to end up with the same way. The worms will either have more to eat or less to eat. That's what you have to think of. And when you realize that's where you're going, and your money can't save you, and your family can't save you, nothing can save you. The only thing that's going to go with you to the next world are your mitzvot. That's all that goes with you. The benefit of your mitzvot that you've done. Everything else falls away. So once I know that, so where's my investment? Where should I make my proper investment? Really, that's what he's trying to get us to understand. If I have an investment to make, so I can either throw into my money in the world here, okay? How do you make an investment? Do I put my money into the bank at 0% interest or 0.125, whatever it's going to be? Do I put it into the stock market and get potentially a 10% historical return on that? Do I invest it in a house and therefore get people Airbnb and get, that's what, right? Airbnb. And then get residual income from that? What do I do? Because in this world I need money. I need streams of income, multiple streams of income. So in case one falls, I have another one. Tremendous. I can sit down, I can give classes all day long because all these money's coming into me without me doing anything, as opposed to one stream of income or no stream of income. Okay, so here I have, so this in this world, but in the next world, all that money that I amass, the millions upon millions, billions from my YouTube channel, okay, because 1,000 members, remember? Okay. These billions of dollars I'm going to get that are coming in, I just waiting. They're just waiting to come into my pocket. Okay, that's not what I'm going to get rewarded for. The Torah I give, maybe, God willing, somebody's going to hear that and they'll start learning, teaching Torah, doing Torah, maybe. That's the multiple investments I want. I want to invest in the mitzvot. I don't want to invest everything else to get to the next world, because everything I do here is not going to get me there.
Well, it also depends what your intention is with your money.
Go ahead. What's your intention with the money? Go ahead.
Like, for example, the Airbnb example.
Airbnb.
Right? Okay. So one could be that they're not being a burden on their children because that's their retirement plan.
Right.
Or that their burial will be paid for, or that they will be able to give charity, or that they will be able to help many descendants through that work. So
That's a good Airbnb. Okay, that would be a good Airbnb if they can help many descendants.
Well, you start a company and there's
Okay, you can start a company. You are 100% correct. That again, if I'm using it for mitzvot, and that's what he would say to you, if whatever we do to serve Hashem better and to create those streams of income, spiritual income, so that as well as physical income, that would be great. For instance, again, if I, as a rabbi, okay, I have influence of millions of people that I run into. Well, let's say I get somebody to put tefillin on, like the Babiches, okay? They get somebody to put tefillin, not just that one day, but continually, every single day. Well, that is a ka-ching. In the world of the spiritual world, I got somebody to do a mitzvah, that's ka-ching. Every time they do it, every time they,
because they put on the tefillin,
right,
and then years down the road, they remember putting on the tefillin, and they get inspired. And so then they decide to find out more.
Okay.
Right? So that's still
I can get that, right. I can get that ka-ching. Right. But my point is, I'm investing spiritually. That's what I'm doing. So if I use my Airbnb, to use the Airbnb, we're going to open an Airbnb, okay, right. We have plenty of rooms upstairs, okay. So if I use that money to now invest in teaching people Torah, so yes, that money is turned, that is a tool that we use to get the job done. No problem with that. But I'm saying, but we don't think like that in this world. In this world, we're just looking for, just watch anybody online that talks about these streams of income. They're talking about, so they can sit home and do nothing, which they never do because they make all these videos. but they want to get streams of income so they can retire. But then they don't want to retire. Also,
there are people who do good things when they retire.
No, again, I'm not arguing the good things. I'm not arguing that. As long as you have that in mind that you're doing it for God, it's good enough for your own benefit.
Well, he's saying again, don't only be concerned with this world, but you're thinking about how to live in this world. You got to think about how to live in the next world. How to
Correct. You have to do everything.
Yeah.
So, but the biggest thing is you're serving Hashem, and if you understand that, that's the purpose, then you're halfway there already. And that's why he's saying you have to remember, if you're building your body up, if you're doing all these things, it's transitory. Yeah. There's nothing there. There's nothing going to be left. It's going to be maggots. The fatter you are, it says in Pirkei Avot, the balabasa, the one who has fat, the worms eat longer. I don't know how worms eat people, but okay. Okay, I won't get into the graphics there.
On the diet.
Say it again. Diet commercials. Okay, and one who adorns his body borders on lewdness, for he will cause women to look at and admire him, as a result of which he will come close to them and fall prey to levity and lightheadedness. The woman too, who adorns herself for men, ignites their hearts and stirs up improper thoughts within them, and her punishment therefore is very great, for she places a stumbling block to many men. Our sages have forbidden gazing at colored garments of a woman that are spread out on the wall. In such a case, if such is the case, even when she is not clothed in them, how much greater then must be the prohibition and the punishment for a woman who dresses up before men who gaze at her. So again, each person has their responsibility. So the man, if he's going to be looked at, if women are looking at him in that sort of a manner, so he has to guard himself. And if a woman's walking around, the man again has to guard himself from falling into the mistake. It doesn't mean that, again, we have to walk around in a slovenly manner. It doesn't mean that we can't dress up. It just means that we shouldn't do it with the reason of attraction. That's all I'm saying. And furthermore, haughtiness leads to lust. For the haughty man's heart is expansive. Okay. I'll have to come to that. Yeah. A haughty man is expansive and desires everything. And lust is the worst of all his traits. For one will lust through his haughtiness to wear expensive garments, build big mansions, not just mansions, but big mansions, and eat gourmet foods. For the haughty man always desires exotic things. And if he cannot afford these things, he may come to steal or rob. For the heart of the haughty man is desirous, and his pocket is spread wide open to accumulate wealth. He will not be happy with his portion, for the great expenditure of his prized desire will cause him to belittle what he has. Furthermore, haughtiness causes one to lack patience in bearing the yoke of his fellow man, and it is not necessary to elaborate upon the effectiveness of one who is not patient. That is known by all. We'll have to stop there.